Hey, Mark. You're muted.
Yep,
See?
I'm on it.
There we are.
There we are.
How are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Doing okay. Surviving, but barely.
Barely.
Yeah. Well, apparently, like doing a PhD and starting your first faculty job all during a pandemic, not the smartest idea. I don't know.
I get
So,
that. I get it. I'm
uh,
I'm bracing myself. I'm in the spring. I'm going back to school, so I'm kind of
oh,
bracing
how
myself for how that's going
exciting.
to be with everything. So
Where are you going?
Asbury.
Okay,
So
very nice.
yeah,
So, master's,
yeah.
MBA?
MDiv.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure you will do well. I will tell you the master's program was significantly easier. Um, so I didn't have any trouble in my master's, but the PhD is different. Man, my light
Yeah.
is not great.
Yeah. My wife's getting is doing for her doctorate right now, and so
Yeah,
in public health, and
that's
so
excellent. Yeah. Is she at UA for that or
yeah,
UAB?
UAB.
UAB, yeah. I would have gone to UAB, honestly, if they offered a PhD in comm, but they didn't. So I went back to the alma mater.
There you go.
Um, it was an experience. But yeah. So is she hoping to teach or just use it within social work?
Yeah, she right now she's the one of the program directors for the School of Public Health, and she's
Right.
wanting to move over into the faculty
Right.
side of
Right.
it,
Yep.
do research and that sort of thing. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's essentially what I was doing too. Usually you don't get your PhD unless you're wanting to be a faculty member, but some
yeah.
people get it for various reasons.
Well,
So
I didn't realize that until we got into this process, just how big of a difference that line is between faculty and staff. It's like there's like almost like a caste system there.
oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like so I'm a PhD candidate. I passed my dissertation proposal. I've finished all my classwork and now I just dissertate. Just that. And then so I'll finish with that in May and have the official degree. But it's like a $10,000 difference in my salary from just being an instructor to actual full-time faculty,
Oh
like
yeah,
full-time professor. I'm
that's
still a
nice.
faculty member, but just not
And that
professor.
makes a difference in your route, your routing for your retirement
Yep.
stuff. And oh yeah, we've had all
Oh
those
yeah.
talks.
Yeah. So I keep telling Patrick, I'm like, one more year. It'll be worth it. One more year.
Mhm.
uh,
Short-term sacrifice, long-term gain. There you go.
there you go. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Well, tell her that I wish her luck and feel her pain. When is she done?
Oh, she's got a few years. She just
Okay.
started in the fall, so
Okay.
yeah,
Nice. Yeah.
it's a time. So
And mine was so quick. Like it's a 3-year program, and I did it in 2.5, or hopefully we'll have done it in 2.5. And I'm an idiot, so it's fine. But
we went into this one saying she was going to take her time with this one because she
yeah,
pushed through her MBA so fast
yeah, I did mine in
that
a
it
year.
was multiple. I mean, we never saw her. I mean, there were entire weeks where she'd come home, go directly into studying, and Jack and I just be looking at each other like, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I consider it makeup for all the years that Patrick did football.
There
For
you
like
go.
news videographies. But yeah, I'm the same way. I finished mine in a year. In 3 semesters, I finished the masters, and that was also stupid. But UAB was paying for it, and I never, you just don't want to like lose your job or something like that, and then
Yeah.
not have a full degree. So I was like, I'm gonna finish this as quickly as possible.
Heck
You know,
yeah.
yeah. Well, anyway, thank you so much for agreeing to do this, especially on
Yeah, of
short
course.
notice. So I tend to use these videos for multiple purposes. The first use that I'll need it for starting next week, um, I'm teaching a mass comm intro class, like intro to mass communication, and we go through all the different types of mass media. So
Hmm.
this week is music week. We're going to be discussing history of sound recording, rise of popular music. This is always their favorite. They actually pay attention to this module because they love music. And so I want kind of the perspective from a radio DJ.
Hmm.
How does the industry work? How do you determine what songs get played? What's the overlap between commercial industry, music industry, autonomy of DJ, things like that.
Yeah.
And of course, I know that that's going to be different from WDJC versus, mainstream or,
I
internet.
mean, BJC was the only Christian music radio station I've ever worked for. I mean, I was
Right.
on at least 106.9 and
Oh,
ZZK
I
and the
always forget
Q.
that you did that
Yeah.
prior. So yeah, so you
No.
can speak from, between the differences
Yeah.
in the
I
different
started on an oldie
organizations.
station, 5,000 watt oldie station in Sylacauga, Alabama when I was in high school.
Yeah, I was really upset when I had to list the 80s as part of the oldies
Mm-hmm.
stations. And I was like, no, that's not acceptable.
So,
But
what was the line from the song? When did Motley Crue become classic rock?
exactly. Yes. It's bothersome.
Yeah.
But then, one of the, so that's for my 100 class, but then I also use these videos for my 200 and 305 class, which is specifically for media writers. And just, I have a lot of people interested in radio life, maybe not so much on the music side, but just so that they can kind of get an inside look into the industry. And I like to talk about the importance of media convergence, how like the skills you use as a media professional translate to other careers. So that's kind of why I thought you talking about
Yeah.
your involvement in, in the church and your
Sure. Yeah.
podcasting and things like that would be great too. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, how do you want me to introduce you?
Um,
Titles and such.
right now I'm the director of communications at Clear Branch, Methodist Church.
Okay.
I'm also one of the weekend air talent at 93.7 WDJC.
Okay.
And I do freelance audio work all over the place.
Yeah. All right. Excellent.
Got done doing some stuff for Radio by Grace in Amarillo, Texas this morning, actually. So,
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a girlfriend who is a podcast producer now. She produced the series Harriet, which was the offset of the Harriet Tubman movie. But now she's working on this cooking show. So like every week she meets with some famous chef and they talk about cooking. And I'm just like, I am so jealous of you. But I love teaching.
There you go.
But yeah, you just remind yourself of that, like day to day. You're like, yeah,
Yes.
I actually do like this.
Yeah.
When I get that email from 11:30 at night from a student, and I'm like, I do love this. I do love this.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so the format is pretty simple. I'll start, introduce you, and then we'll just kind of have a Q&A back and forth, 15 minutes or so, depending upon your answers and length. And then I'll close this out and upload it. If you have anything that you want to provide students, like an email or a LinkedIn or anything like that, let me know. You don't have to do that by any means, but I post that into.
Yeah. They can follow me on
Canvas
Twitter.
course.
I do stuff.
Perfect.
Post things about radio and about communications, about ministry and stuff. So
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I'll put your Twitter handle
We don't
up
need
there.
any new platforms, okay?
No, I do not. I certainly do not. I'm trying to keep up with TikTok as is.
I mean, TikTok is the first one that's come by. Snapchat, I was okay. I was just dismissing it as something the kids were doing.
Yep.
TikTok is the first one I just don't understand.
It's
and
hard.
I feel old for that fact.
Yes. No, I'm struggling because I'm trying to develop this class on social media analytics for media writers because I think it's important for us to think about news as product, and stop like this.
Sure.
We're just public servants and we do what we want. No, that's how you die. Ooh. And so like, I really want to.
Great way for no one to ever hear your name.
Exactly. So I really want to like set up a new focus for our curriculum on like analytics and things like that, and kind of mixing the PR and the news side. But I cannot get a grasp on how to use TikTok effectively as like a PR professional or a journalist for that matter.
And I think it's by nature. It's set up that way.
Yeah, it's set up to be fully entertainment, and it's hard to break through. And I just don't have the time to sit there and think about it. So I'm gonna like pull some article from PR Weekly and just be done with it. But I got to get more on that. But anyway, all right. Well, like I said, I'll just introduce. We'll do our Q&A, wrap up, and then we'll be done. All right.
Great.
All right. Why is it not giving me speaker view? There it is. It's weird how it changes my stuff so much. Anyway, okay. Um, sorry, I'm trying to make sure I'm in my instructor account since it looks different. It should be. Okay. Hopefully we don't get cut off or anything. So we'll see. All right. Thankfully, you're old hat broadcaster who can roll with the punches. So, all right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's lesson. We'll be discussing the importance of the radio industry, and I have with me a very special guest speaker. We have Mark Harvard, who is currently the Director of Communication at Clear Branch United Methodist Church. He also works as weekend on-air talent for WDJC, has a long career in the radio industry, and also works freelance audio. So if you think you are going into media and only doing one thing, Mark Harvard's about to prove you wrong. But Mark is an old friend of mine. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mark.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be asked, and hopefully we can help shed some light onto a few things.
Excellent. Well, tell our students a little bit about your experience in the radio industry and some of the changes you've seen throughout your career.
Oh, wow. Started when I was 16 years old at a little 5,000 watt AM oldies station in Sylacauga, Alabama. They hired me basically because they needed somebody to push buttons for Atlanta Braves baseball games. And this is when they were horrible. So no one was listening. But yeah, then suddenly the season ended because they didn't go to the World Series. Season ended and it was an oldie station, so I got a chance to actually pretend I was a DJ for a little bit, and I just fell in love. And I did that the rest of high school. When I got to college, went to the University of Alabama, and I was driving back and forth every single night. I was working at a station that doesn't exist anymore in Birmingham, a top 40 station, and just throughout the years, I've just always just bounced back and forth between radio and ministry and that sort of thing. And I've done country, I've done oldies, I've done talk radio. I did talk radio for a couple of years, produced and hosted. And then now I'm doing weekend shifts over at WDJC. We're doing Christian radio, and it's every format has its little idiosyncrasies that emerge, different styles, different little pitfalls that you fall into. But it's interesting. It's exciting. It's fun. It really is a job that if you feel like you have some sort of knack for it, you have a blast.
Yeah, that's great advice to have passion for what you're doing within media. So you talk about being able to transfer among media genres. And I know a lot of my students say, I really love rock, or I'm really into hip hop, and that's the kind of radio DJ I want to be. Maybe they want to be sports broadcasters on the radio. What would you suggest to a student who has their mindset on one format in today's era of media convergence?
Well, some of those formats don't have as much, I guess, wiggle room. Like if you're interested in sports radio, that's what you want to do, you're not going to be a great fit for an oldies station. There's not a lot of overlap, but you might be okay cutting your teeth in the news talk format. If you want to do rock radio, you may want to, you may settle, I guess, for short term. If you can't just dive right into a rock station, which in this day and age is probably not the best way to go, you can do maybe the hot AC stuff or the pop stuff and find some sort of crossover. One way I would just say, the way I got into radio really doesn't exist as much anymore. The mom and pop stations aren't out there and that sort of thing. So the way to get in now is to find menial, lower level courses of action and jobs, and work your way up. Some advice my father gave me years ago that I've always found is as a source for helping me through things is always work harder than your pay scale. Get in as a board op or as a promotions assistant and work your tail off. Be dedicated, be dependable, be someone who they don't think is just going to slack off and, well, let me make sure this person's over here. Be the person that they know is going to be over here taking care of stuff. That way, when an opportunity comes up, they think, oh, well, he'd be a good fit for that. When I was at Crawford Broadcasting for 14 years before I left to come here. I started as a part-time board op for their news talk station there, and then worked my way up to production director, and then I was on the air doing afternoons, and I was managing. At one point, they had me flying all over the country working with other radio stations in the company that were having problems. So yeah, just because I was dependable and level-headed, and they knew I was going to work my tail off.
Yeah, and I think you really speak to an important aspect of media, especially from a professional side, is just always saying yes. Just be willing to do what they ask of you.
Mhm.
Um, and when would you suggest that students start getting into this? We have some freshmen, we have some seniors. Like, when should they get involved if they're interested in a media career?
You can find those low level, the low hanging fruit of occupation during college. You can easily find that stations that'll be looking for board ops, that sort of thing. A lot of those stations will work around your college schedule. A lot of times it'll be, we need somebody on the weekends. We need to handle the shifts that nobody wants to work. Those are the shifts you're going to get, and you're going to be ending up in, but that's okay because you won't be there forever. If you prove your worth, if you don't slack off, you don't get lazy, you won't be there forever because someone else will leave, and those slots create within themselves.
Yeah. And better to have those low paying jobs in college when your parents are still supporting you most of the time, or
Absolutely,
the
absolutely. And
scholarships
also
are.
it's also one of those things where, when you graduate, if there's an opportunity available, they're going to go to the person that's already been there for 3 years as a part-timer to make them full-time, because they don't have to train you on company culture. They don't have to train you on how we do things in this area. You already know it. You know what the rules are. You're clearly defined in it, and you've got a history there.
Yeah, so that's why internships are critically important, something I always stress to students. So tell us a little bit about the radio industry in terms of music. We've seen, through the history of radio that DJs play a really important part in deciding what is popular, what's aired. So tell me a little bit about your role as a DJ.
As a DJ, well, I feel like I'm about to bust some bubbles here. Um, the on-air DJs, for the most part, have very little to no say in what they play. It's most of that stuff is decided weeks ahead of schedule. If you're lucky, it's decided by one music director on the local level. More than likely, it's decided by someone at a corporate hub in Nashville, or they decide okay, all of our stations are going to play this new single this week. We have a deal with the record company, and we're gonna push this song from, I don't know who's popular, from Charlie Puth. Is he somebody? Yeah, okay. uh-huh. They're gonna push this single from this guy, and that's a lot of it's decided by then. You don't schedule, you don't play. Request shows are rare and few and far between, because you have record companies that are expecting a certain number of spins for their song. And so, yeah, that's valuable airtime that they could be playing the new. I really should know more pop groups. The new Iggy Azalea or whatever. What does that say about me that she was the first person that popped in my head?
I don't know, but I
But
never can come up with an example either. It's fine.
but yeah, it's all that's decided way out of your hands. It's not something that you're going to have a whole lot of say in. You do get to interview artists sometimes, but you don't get to really choose when you play a song at a certain time.
Right. So that old era of like the Dick Clarks who get to decide the music, who shape the music, that's kind of over. So tell us a
Sorry.
little bit about what are some of the key skills that someone interested in going into radio need?
Um, you need to be able to, well, speak clearly, with enthusiasm, be able to really connect with your listeners. And a lot of that is a different thing based on the format. If you're in news talk radio, a lot of that group, who I call the red meters, they're the ones, I mean, they like the angry, the assertive, we're going to get them, or we're going to defend them, or whatever side you fall on. You need that. You need the exact opposite for pop radio or rock, or even rock radio. For country radio, you need more laid back, that sort of thing. You need that sort of feel. But as far as just personal qualities, um, being genuine, the ability to make someone really feel like you're talking specifically to them and not just they're not eavesdropping on a conversation you're having with a big group of people. Being able to create a connection, that's the biggest thing that gives you lasting power in radio.
Yeah, and a lot of that is basic storytelling skills that you develop through your media writing. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, talk to us a little bit about how the industry has changed and how you, as an on-air personality, have adapted to that. Obviously, streaming has overtaken a lot of broadcast radio. So, how are you adapting? What are some of the emerging technologies that you utilize within your career, both as a communications director, but then also as an on-air personality?
Well, when I started in radio, this, like I said, I'm 44 now, and I was 16 years old. We still had albums that we played, and we had half our library was an album, half the library was in CDs. Had two CD players stacked, and everything was that's where all the music came from. Now everything's on a hard drive, one centralized server within the building, that sort of stuff. Um, and even that has started to fall by the wayside. Um, I go to the actual radio studio once every quarter, maybe. I don't set foot in the building anymore because I've got a home studio set up. I got a Zoom L8 board that I use, a Shure 7B, SM7B microphone that I use, and I got a soundproof room in my home that I use for that sort of stuff and some of the other voiceover stuff that I do. And I sound, it's still me, but I sound quality wise the same as I would in the studio. You never know. And through the whole COVID lockdown thing, you saw a lot of that. Entire radio stations that no one's allowed to come to the building. Everybody do your shows from home, and radio pretty much kept up with it. They didn't really miss too many beats. That's something that wouldn't have been possible 5 years ago. So it's that's a really exciting way to do that. And honestly, when everything got locked down, the folks that were already set up at their houses to do stuff from home, those are the ones who were in an incredible position when the lockdown started up. That's how I got ended up with a bunch of extra freelance stuff, because ad agencies couldn't bring people into voice commercials in their big studios, and so they had to look for people that were already set up. So I ended up doing some work for some car dealerships and some political stuff, and because I had the gear and the setup ready to go. So that sort of stuff that it wasn't possible back then. That technology has kind of been able to push us through. And honestly, to be honest, it's a upper level podcasting setup is essentially what it is at home, but it works.
So keeping up with technology, critically important for a media professional. Not only for COVID lockdowns, hopefully we don't have to do those anymore,
Yeah.
but it can make a difference in your professional life, especially when you're involved in freelancing. Well, Mark, any last words of advice for our students?
Work hard. I'll repeat what I said earlier. Work higher than your pay scale. You're not going to walk into a building thinking that you're going to show everybody how to do things, because even if you do know a better way, it's going to take you earning some credibility within that building to get everybody to really listen to you. But pay your dues, get in there, and be creative and be imaginative, because you never know what that big step you're going to be able to make is going to cause. So yeah, don't be afraid of taking a few risks.
Well, great advice. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy day. I know I appreciate it. I'm sure my students do as well. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Mark is going to share his Twitter handle with us. So if you have any questions for him, make sure you reach out on Twitter. Hope you guys have a great day.